Welcome back, Marco here. Today we look at the latest news on MGC Pharmaceuticals and the Symmetra trials. And also we're gonna break down an interview that the CEO has released a couple of weeks ago and that tells us when the company is gonna become profitable. Yes guys, so let's dive straight into it. Now first of all, let's read today's news. So MGC Pharmaceuticals gets phase 3 trial of lead drug underway. So that basically means that this drug called Symmetra will actually be used to treat hospitalized COVID-19 patients. And now we are at the stage of trialing this drug on basically this sample of people, 252 people, that will take part in this double-blind, placebo-controlled efficacy, blah, blah, blah. So basically it's this trial that will actually define whether this drug is effective or not. Now this could actually seem good news, but probably is not. Let me show you why. This is Symmetra on the company presentation, and as you can see there is a lot to read through, but what I wanted to highlight is that the phase 3 trials were actually planned to happen in April 2021. Now if you look at the calendar, it's July, so that means there's been a delay, which is not great at all, if you know what I mean. Now for all those who don't know what Symmetra does, let me show you very quickly what this drug does, because later in the video we're gonna have a look at what the CEO thinks about these drugs and also when the company is gonna become profitable. Now Symmetra is a phytomedicine based on natural ingredients, and we know that obviously I'm an investor in MGC Pharmaceutical myself, but this drug on its own doesn't have any green leaf, if you know what I mean. I don't want to get demonetized, but instead Symmetra has got artemisinin, curcumin and boswellia serrata. So basically it's all plants, but it doesn't have the green leaf as such. Now it's really good because it's used to basically treat COVID-19 patients, and the idea is to actually reduce the symptoms of COVID-19. So that includes the fact that this drug has led to patients not needing additional oxygen, mechanical ventilation or admission to intensive care. And by the way, if you like this kind of news, I make videos on MGC Pharmaceuticals periodically so that you are up to date on the stock. I'm a holder myself, so that's what this channel is about. So as I promised, let's have a look at the interview that the CEO has released, and that's got a lot of information about Canopy, about this Symmetra and everything about this company, so let's dive in it.
How might Symmetra be differentiated from dexamethasone, which also limits cytokine storms in COVID-19 patients?
First of all, on the delivery system, we're talking about oral administration, while the other product, such as this reference, are using IV or injection, and as such, first of all, we are much more easy on delivery and much more patient-friendly, I would say. And then it's referred also for the cost-effective and the affordable of the product to the patient. The competitor product are around the thousands of dollars per treatment, while we are talking about below the $100 per treatment.
So that's a very good bit of news, because at least we know that Symmetra is actually able to compete with the competitors, and also that is based on both the price that is lower than the competitors, way lower, and also it's a matter of being much easier to be taken because it's oral as opposed to be an injection, which is something that is obviously nasty. We know that with all the COVID jabs that have been going around. So overall, this is a much better product. But as I told you earlier, Symmetra's got very simple things in it. It's got a very simple composition, and you could in theory buy the ingredients yourself and make it, can't you?
Curcumin and boswellia are all already available separately as nutritionals. So given that, how do you get commercial protection for Artemic and Symmetra, and how do you prevent or compete with copy versions if they become available?
So first of all, there is a big difference between buying a curcumin in the supermarket to buy curcuminoids, which are the active ingredient of the curcumin as a API, active pharmaceutical ingredient. The second part is that from the very beginning, the active substances are sitting in a nanosphere molecules that are being patented by Mivital, the sister company of Swiss Pharmacon, where we are working with them, and also by ourselves in Symmetra. So there are patent protection around the product, around the formulation. The second part is that we have a compounded formulation. You need to have a certain ratio between the active ingredient that we explore through a matrix that we tested various combination to get the right results and been proven by the clinical studies.
And so there are two levels of protection for this product. The first one is the patent level. So these products have been patented, so the competition cannot come and just basically make it on their own. And also the other level is the specific composition, which I believe is something that actually doesn't provide too much protection, because obviously they can just buy the product and then replicate it. At least the patent should be protective enough, but we are investors and we actually have to look forward to more news. This one didn't quite move the price as much as we were hoping to. So what kind of catalyst, what kind of news can we expect in the near future?
News that is important in the development stages you're going through.
Also Canapil, which is our refractory epilepsy treatment that entering to phase 2B. The results of this study will affect a lot on our existing sales as an IMP around the world, in Australia, in UK, Brazil. So we will see already some effect before we are getting the marketing authorization. The second part is also our development in our preclinical studies. We are dealing with brain cancer, glioblastoma, which is a very rare and aggressive case of cancer. And once we'll get into the clinical study, moving from the preclinical into the clinical, it will be a unique approach, and hopefully we'll see a fast result that also will influence on the company status.
And so the CEO has dropped two bombshells. The first one is that Canapil, obviously there is a development on Canapil. It's one of the main products and probably the reason why I bought into this company myself. And the second one is about the brain cancer. And obviously this is something that is described in the past, but that we haven't seen too much in the news so far. So I'm looking forward to knowing more about this brain cancer product that they're trying to develop. And also, if you haven't bought MGC Pharmaceutical, well, the best way to do it is on FREETRADE, because it's the cheapest app in the UK as of now. And so get yourself an account on FREETRADE using the very first link in the description below, and that will give you also a free share valued up to £200. But before you buy MGC Pharma, be aware that this company is not profitable yet. And so one thing then we need to look at is obviously dilution. What is the state there?
Do you think you'll need to access any further financing or fundraising over the next 12 months?
We will need to see the result of our clinical studies and growth of sales. I assume that unless we will see an investment opportunity that will benefit the company, not just as an operating side, then we will consider raising. Otherwise, we're going to see that our revenues and profit coming from the sales that we just indicated in the last 2 weeks on Symetra, for example, Artemic, Canapil, other products that are being sold in Australia. These sales are increasing and the profit come with them. So I hope that we will be able to show that we don't need the money.
And speaking of dilution, there was actually a proposed amount of shares that would actually be sold to raise capital. This is the number 8.8 million shares. And basically that was announced June this year, so not too long ago. So basically that's when it was also proposed to be issued. I see that it hasn't happened. Basically, they did not release these shares in the market. And so this is the kind of numbers they are looking at. They know that they need cash. So bear that in mind if you're buying, if you're holding, for everything. This is a bit of news that many people do not talk about, and it's very important to you. Now, again, very important for your information, if you are looking at this company or if you're looking to hold this company or buy more, whatever, this is the latest balance sheet. And as you can see, the receipts from customers, so that's the way they address basically sales. It's actually very, very low compared to the costs they are taking on. So for example, R&D on its own is 3.8 million Australian dollars versus actually the actual revenues, which is 1.3 million Australian dollars. So as you can see, sales is widely smaller than the actual amount of cost. So that's the kind of company we are looking at. And again, very important is that what they did in the past was to raise cash by diluting, and that's why I wanted to show you earlier the kind of dilution that they are actually doing on a quite regular basis, I'm afraid to say. And so what they're trying to develop now is new products to actually prop up and increase their sales, and also trying to invade new markets. For example, in Europe now, there is not really much making revenues for the moment. So that's why they're listed here in the UK market. And also, when are they gonna attack the US?
Why is the USA not included as a target market at the moment?
At the moment, when we are looking on the cannabis sector, as I said at the beginning, there is a recreational sector. And until we're not having a near-term marketing authorization, we exclude the American market. Also from the strategy of the company, at the moment, we are looking on the Europe, Australia, Asia, where it's more close to our operating side. And in a later stage, we also will look on the American market once we are closer to the marketing authorization stage.
So for the US, we need to wait for the market authorization. So that's probably the last market that they're gonna try to invade and sell into. But now the question that you were really looking for, when is MGC Pharmaceutical becoming profitable?
Cut to the chase on this one. When do you see yourselves making real money for shareholders?
Well, I assume that first of all, the share price will go up, which real money to shareholders. But assuming that everybody are talking about dividends, which is something that is our primary goal to be in a cash flow positive by the end of this year, if not earlier. Once we're getting a marketing authorization and the big market is open to the company, then we're talking about a company that become a blue chip company, a company that generating dividends, that are selling globally over hundreds of millions of dollars.
And so this is great news, guys. MGC Pharmaceutical will, in theory, that's the CEO speaking, not me, so this is not financial advice as well, but it will become profitable by the end of the year, guys. So as a holder, I told you earlier what I'm gonna do with this stock. So subscribe if you want to know the latest news on MGC Pharmaceutical, and then click on this video that the YouTube algorithm thinks that you're gonna like a lot. Thank you.